Okay, so I'm going to lift the car into the air now using this low profile jack. I included a lifting points picture in the video, hopefully. But this car has full subframe connectors going throughout the whole thing that have been welded on. But basically we're just going to mount onto this bar that's going through here. We're going to lift there and leave enough space at the front for a jack. So hopefully you can see this. This is just underneath the car. We're going to lift with the jack kind of right over the passenger door area, and we're just going to leave some space over here for our jack stand to mount to the other part of this bar that's coming through. Okay, so we're just going to make sure that we're not pinching any brake lines or anything, that it's lifting on that nice little subframe coming through here. Okay, so now with this jack stand underneath here, we're just going to make sure that the trough on the jack stand is kind of cradling this bar as we let it down. Okay, so just slowly let it down. Okay, stop it. Watch your fingers. Make sure that it's kind of going in to cradle it. And there, once the jack has the majority of the weight on, let the jack down so that you know that it's firmly on here. Feel it to make sure it's in that trough. And then I like to just put a little bit of pressure back on the jack. That way it's kind of just another safety. And that way the car will be nice. Now, notice we are lifting on the passenger side, and that's because the drain plug for the oil pan is on the driver's side. So this way it's going to be tilting the car for all the oil to drain out the best. Okay, so now that the car's in the air, I'm going to slide this cardboard piece under here. Okay, because even if you're really good about catching oil in the pan, sometimes it'll splash and leave tiny little drops all over, and I don't want to get my garage all dirty, so I'm just going to slide in that nice little piece of cardboard. And then get my fill pan, catch pan ready for after I break loose the nut. Okay, so what we're going to do now is I'm going to take the cap off of the oil so that it'll drain a lot easier, and either set it aside somewhere safe, but you know, I don't like any kind of dirt getting down in there even though I'm in a garage, so I'm just kind of paranoid like that. So I just kind of put the cap back on somewhat loose, just make sure that it can breathe. That's kind of the main important part. Okay, so here's the front wheel kind of as a reference point. Just kind of come underneath the car here. This is the K member. Okay, the suspension, everything is hooked up to that. And so back here, this is the oil pan, and here's the drain plug. Okay, so we're going to take our 5/8 inch. Okay, make sure that the socket is on reverse. Might want to fill it with your hand first if you're not sure. Righty tighty, lefty loosey. Okay, we're going to break this free, and as soon as it's broken, we're going to add our attachment to it. Okay, and so the size that I'm going to be using for this 2004 Cobra, it's the same on the Mach 1 and the GT, I believe, is the 5/8 inch. Okay, it fits perfect, and as you see I have kind of an attachment here on the back, and I'll show you what that's for here. What I like to do is get under here and put it on the drain plug and then break it loose. And I already broke it loose, so I'm just kind of showing you right now. But slide the oil pan underneath here, catch pan. Okay, and the reason why I like to do this is I put it on like this with the extension, and then you can turn the extension and have it start coming out without getting your hands dirty. Okay, so it's kind of just a trick that I use. It's a little easier when you're not doing the camera either, but this way you can kind of hold it with your thumb too when it's finally out, and then just pull it away. But yeah, when it's all the way out, you can be applying pressure on the back of this to keep kind of the fluid from coming out, and then you just pull it away and let it drain. It's just kind of an easier way to do it without burning your hand. Okay, so now I'm going to put the drain plug back in, and we're going to take off the oil filter. And as soon as you take the oil filter off, you can have a lot more oil come out of here. So I don't have 2 oil pans that I'm using right now, so I'm going to plug this one up and then take off the filter, let the filter drain for a minute, and then open this back up in a minute. Okay, so there's the drain plug back there, and the oil filter is up in here, and it's kind of a pain to get to. The best method of getting it out is to undo it up here and then pull it out this way, kind of around the back, around the power steering lines, and then down into the pan. Okay, so here's a new filter, just to kind of illustrate what we're doing here. You can just take it off by hand, which is what I'm most likely going to do, or you can use some of these other tools that I had. I just kind of wanted to show you that they're out there. This one has an attachment in the back for you to put your socket wrench, and basically you just get onto the back of the filter, you know, and then just put your wrench in it and turn it. It helps turn the filter off. It doesn't work with the Ford filters though. It has kind of like little points in it, kind of like a socket. And that's mainly for like, I think the Fram filters use that. Another thing that they have are these wrenches, and it's basically a belt, just a rubber belt. And you just get up in there, you know, just kind of lasso the filter good and tight, like so, crank it up, and then turn it. So anyway, these are just some tools that are out there if you want them, and they'd probably come in handy more just the fact that, you know, the filters are really hot, so it's nice to have something else to be turning it with. I'm going to turn it off by hand, and so I'm just taking my trusty rag over here, and I'm just going to put it on my hand. That way I won't burn it. Just remember the engine's hot from driving it around, and it should be nice and warm if you're going to change your oil. The oil flows a little better that way, so it's better to change it when it's warm. So just, you know, be careful. Okay, so here's the filter. I once ran like cardboard up in here to help try to catch the oil, but it's just going to make a mess either way you do it. So anyway, just grab onto the filter by hand or with one of the tools that I was showing you, and you just have to break it loose. There it goes. Just remember, it's hot. I'm wearing some gloves right now, and sometimes you have to use like a t-shirt or something on top of that. Okay, but as you see, I'm just turning it, and I have my catch pan under here because it's going to start leaking right on the kind of on the steering rack. Just kind of let it do its thing. Then just use that oil, make sure you get it cleaned up. But anyway, just turn it off. And I'm applying a little bit of pressure towards, you know, towards the filter in this way, because you don't want to just have it fall. So I'm applying just a little bit of pressure so I know when it's off, and just kind of holding it there. Okay, so now that it's off, you know, you might need to adjust the pan, get it back towards you. Sorry about that. Okay, so we're just going to tilt it like this and bring it right through by the steering rack and then dump it into the pan. Okay, so now that it's off, you want to look up in there on the actual housing and make sure everything's good. I don't know if you can see, but you just want to make sure that the old gasket didn't stay on, because the bottom, this black ring right here, that gasket sometimes can glue itself to the old housing. And I've had that happen before. So when you take the filter off, make sure that this, you know, black gasket right here is still on the filter, and make sure that it's not on the car anymore.